The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural. Magic. Ghosts. UFOs. Bigfoot. Extraterrestrial. Psychic energy.
The Calling.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to The Calling. I am Jerry, of course, you know that. And Kimberly Juarez is not going to be with us tonight. Why? She, every year around this time, of course this time, she gets a fireworks tent. So she's out there having fun in this sweltering, nasty heat and just having a good old time. You know, it's funny about that, too, is I understand she has to sleep with all of the fireworks. They can't leave the stand because of looting or people taking stuff and everything else. So she's got to sleep right there. So I kind of feel really bad for her and Art for having to do that. That sucks. But anyway, we got a really good show on tonight. From Staring in the Abyss, we have James Hershey Jr. and James Old Boy Ash. How you doing, gentlemen?
How's it going, brother? Hello, everyone.
How's everybody doing today?
Excellent, excellent. Well, guys, no, so this is weird. I mean, one of you guys is out in, out east. The other one's out west. How did you guys ever get together during doing the show?
It's kind of funny because another friend of ours had a radio show, and he brought me on as a guest to promote my novels. And people just liked me. They liked the way I talked. They liked what I had to say. So he wanted me to kind of come on full time. I had no idea I was ever going to get into radio doing anything like that. But I started doing the show with him, and then Old Boy came on as a guest, and we just vibed really well together. And that led later on to me and Old Boy doing Staring into the Abyss together.
Nice, nice. And it's been, what, 3 years now?
Yeah, 3 years.
Awesome. And so, Old Boy, what do you think of all this? I mean, were you, like, totally up for it? And, like, have you guys ever met face-to-face?
No. We've never met. We've seen each other on FaceTime and Skype and stuff. No, we have never met. He lives in Virginia. I live in California. The way I met him is I started a horror group 4 or 5 years ago on Facebook, and it got really big. And my friend started his radio show like he was talking about, and we started doing stuff with him, and he kind of like some personal stuff has happened, so we and James started taking over the show, and we just clicked, and we made Staring into the Abyss about 3.5 years ago, and we went on Parax about 2.5 years ago. So ever since, we've been doing this together. Yes, we are totally opposite people, religious-wise, political-wise. We shouldn't get along, but we do, and it just works.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So now I guess they call Hershey, they call you the angel, and they call him, or Old Boy, the demon. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. It's kind of a funny little marketing thing somebody came up with. But basically, I'm a born-again Christian, and I know a great deal about the Bible. I've done extensive study of the Bible. And Old Boy is kind of the exact opposite. He's like a Wiccan witch. He dabbles in spell work and demonology and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of crazy that the two of us can get together and get along so well. We don't agree on every single thing, but we're able to have civil conversations and civil debates, which is something that is very lacking in the world today, I think.
Right. Well, I could just see when you said we don't see eye to eye on everything. James or Ash right away is like shaking his head. No, no, we don't.
No, we don't. We have a
Yeah,
difference of opinion, but it works. So
That's good. That is good. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's funny is that Kimberly and I, we just like about a couple of months ago, we finally, because I kept telling her, don't agree with everything I say. I'm not going to agree with everything you say. And we finally started letting it out. And it's like, I have more respect for her because of all the stuff she knows, which I never knew she knew. And it's like, holy cow, I look stupid, plain and simple.
yeah.
But
Truth is so important, brother.
it is.
That's one thing on staring that is our number one rule. I don't care if you don't agree with me. I don't care if you think that what I'm saying is the dumbest thing you've ever heard in your life. That's okay. The only rule is true. You got to be honest. You know what I mean? We don't lie to our audience. We don't lie to each other. If you don't agree, that's cool. We can talk about it like men. You know what I mean? But we have to always tell the truth, because once you lie to your audience, or once you lie in your life, period, your credibility is gone. Nobody believes you anymore. You can't be taken seriously on anything. And that's a very important lesson, not only for the paranormal and people that are involved in show business of all kinds of degrees, but in life in general, for all the kids listening and everybody. Just be yourself, because God created you perfect. You are exactly what he wanted to make. You are enough. You don't have to lie. You don't have to pretend. Just be you.
Right, exactly. No, I agree with you. I know that he made me dead sexy, plain and simple. So now, old boy, have you been writing books too, or no?
no, he's the one that wrote the 4 novels. He's a international selling author now. He's made that was where he got his name. No, actually, I'm just, like I said, I was a fan that became on the radio. So it just happened. And now I got a name with him. I mean, everybody, from doing Parax and people, we have a big following, 7,000 subscribers on YouTube on top of that. So
Right.
it's just getting bigger and bigger. And, we have our own clothing, shirts and stuff like that. But no, I haven't wrote any book. Now I do have a book coming out soon, but it wasn't written by me, but it's for somebody did it for me. But it has nothing to do with anything. It's more religious wise, but it's not my writings, but it is coming out. So, but I'm getting all the things for it. It was kind of a special thing. It was my friend that wrote it for me, but it was a cool thing he did for me. So
Nice. Well, Hershey, Mr. Hershey, would you kind of tell me about your books?
Sure. Like what I was telling you earlier before we went on air, I'll share with the audience. For those that have followed me on my journey for staring and everything, you're familiar with this story. I've probably told this story a bunch of times. But ever since I was a small child, pretty much as far back as my memory will allow me to travel, I have had nightmares every single night. Every dream I've ever had in my entire life has been horrifying nightmares, the stuff that I write about in my books. And what would happen was I would get a different scene every night. So each nightmare would be like an entire scene that would play out. And then the next night would come and I would get another scene. And they would not be in any particular order. So it's all jumbled up mess. But they were just all complete scenes. And once I reached the end, they repeated. And it was just like they were playing on a loop. I was having the same dreams in sequence over and over and over again for a good portion of my childhood. And then I was reading an article in Scientific American magazine about dreams. And in this article, the main point of the article isn't important because it doesn't apply. But in the article, they mentioned dream journals as a way to figure out what your subconscious is trying to tell you through your dreams. So that kind of made a light bulb go off in my head, and I thought, hey, that's a good idea. Maybe if I write this stuff down, I can figure out why the hell this keeps happening. Because, I mean, you can imagine it's terrifying. So I do that. I don't go out and buy some fancy-ass, leather-bound journal kind of deal because I'm a poor person back then. I'm a mountain guy. I don't have any money. So what I do is I go out and I get like a spiral notebook that you can buy for, like, at the time it was like 25 cents at Walmart or whatever. So I buy one of those and I sit it beside my bed, and every night I have my nightmares. And when I wake up in the morning, as soon as I can kind of get my brain wrapped around the idea that I'm actually here and not there and safe, then I write down the dream. And what I noticed was when I wrote them down, they stopped. I never had the dream that I wrote down again, ever. And once I had the entire series of dreams written down, I didn't have that story come anymore. It was a different story that started up. So my first novel, I Am Legion, that is the series of dreams that I had for my entire childhood.
Wow.
Was that novel. And then once I discovered the writing down of the dreams makes them go away, then new stories started coming. So I would write those down, and then they would go away. And over the years of my entire life, I have built up a stack of notebooks that are just full of all these horrible tales that have been in my nightly dreams every single night. So that is what all 4 of my novels are. My first 3 novels was I Am Legion, The Surrogate of Souls, and The Rise of the Revenant. That is the I Am Legion trilogy. And that is that set of dreams. And then Call the Wind Spirits is a standalone novel that has nothing to do with the Legion series, but it's a story all of itself.
Right. Wow. So Travis Allstott in the chat room saying, so you faced it by physically approaching it.
Yeah, because I didn't really have any choice, you know. Right. It's a funny thing because everybody will act tough and they'll say, oh, I'm a tough guy, I ain't afraid of nothing, you know. But, dude, I'm going to tell you, I was scared, bro. I was a little kid, you know, and if you've ever read my novels, I mean, they are horrifyingly scary. I mean, just the absolute worst thing you can imagine. I mean, I was telling you before we went on, the critic for the New York Times read the first novel, I Am Legion, and said that he didn't sleep for 3 days. I've had book critics say that they can't even eat a hamburger after reading my novel. It's, wow. I mean, it traumatizes you. It's one of those books that you can't put it down. Once you start reading it, you have to keep going to see what happens next because it's a edge of your seat thing. And I'm not just trying to hype it up. I don't have to hype it up. I've made a ton of money off this stuff, man. I don't care. You know what I mean? But it's like, I'll give you a great example. My mother, now I am 6'5", 300 pounds. I'm a freaking giant. My mom is this tiny little beautiful girl. She's like not even 5 foot really. She's tiny. And she is scared to death of horror, anything having to do with horror. If she hears the theme song to Halloween, she has nightmares for weeks. That's wow. How scared she gets. Now, she read I Am Legion because she wanted to support her son, who she loves. And she told me after she got done reading it, well, first she said some words that I can't repeat on the radio about me because she said this is messed up. You know what I mean? But after that, she said, man, it was really, really good. I wanted to stop after the first page because I was scared to death already. But I couldn't stop reading. I had to know what happened. Now, the funny thing is she has never read the other 2 in the trilogy because said she didn't want to start them because she knew she'd have to finish them. And the first one gave her nightmares for months.
Wow. So now, where is she at there? Oh, CC, Ceiling Cat, says, first page of I Am Legion, you will turn on the light and lock the doors. It's scary as heck. So now, James, have you, or it's so weird you guys both got the same name. I'm going to have a little trouble with that. Oh, boy. Have you read his book yet?
I have all 4 of them autographed.
Nice. But have you read them?
Yeah, I've read them. I've read them, and they're really scary, really good. I mean, it's good enough that Stephen King bought one of them. So, I mean, that should tell you. And
seriously?
Yeah, Stephen King has bought one of his novels. Or I don't know if he's bought them all, but I know he's bought one. He's also commented on it. Yeah, they're very scary. He like he said, he dreams stuff and then he writes it down. And it's like living in a hell. And I could get it. I get where he's saying because we also do Tales from the Abyss. We actually go out and do ghost hunting and stuff like that. Well, he has a group in Virginia, and I have one in California. So
Okay.
I already deal with I know what he's dealing with because I have my own demons, and I deal with a lot of things myself. So I can imagine everything he dreams. He doesn't sleep too well because this stuff ends up going onto his books. So yeah, I've read all 4 of them. They're really great. You guys want to get them? Check them out.
Yeah, and where, Mr. I'm going to call you James, and then Old Boy. Okay, so James, where do you find your books at? God.
Pretty much anywhere they sell books. I mean, they're available on Amazon, on Prime. You can get them on Kindle as well. I think the first 2 are on audiobook. I don't know if they ever did the other 2 as audiobooks or not, but I know the first 2 were. And you can get them like BarnesandNoble.com and BooksAMillion.com. All the .coms have them to order, and some stores carry them, some stores don't. It all depends on the amount of books they carry, really. I mean, when they were on the bestseller list, every place had them. But as far as now, I don't know if every bookstore you go to will have them, but every bookstore you go to will be able to order them if they like.
Wow, I'll be darned. So now, when you get to the nightmares and stuff like that, is there something where now that you've wrote all these books and everything, they usually say that things will stop once you write it down or something like that. So if you go out in public and you're walking, then all of a sudden there's something that manifests itself, and you see that in something on the street or wherever you're at. Do you ever see anything like that?
On occasion. I mean, Old Boy mentioned the Tales from the Abyss show that we do. That got started because he does investigations on the West Coast, and I'm on a team here on the East Coast that actually has a church-sanctioned exorcist on it. We handle the demonic possession cases for this area, and so the majority of the cases I do here are fighting demons. You're going in, you're trying to save a family, you're trying to help somebody, get the demon away from them. In most cases, it's mainly all attachments. I mean, you'll see 1 or 2 actual possessions in your entire life. People have this misconception that demonic possession happens all the time, and it doesn't. It's so rare, it's not even funny. What you normally have is attachments, and what that is a demon will become attached to a person or a family because usually that person or family has been doing something that draw the demon in. They've been messing around with spell work, or they're, messing around with Ouija boards or something that they don't quite understand, that they think is cool, and that draws it to them. So then it'll attach to the person, and it will begin to act in its life. It will make you depressed. It'll give you mental problems. It'll cause disease. It'll cause accidents. It'll cause financial collapse. It'll cause all kinds of horrible things in your life. As far as like what you see in a horror movie where a demon pops up out of the corner and it's like, that's not reality. That's not the way it works. You can have the person talking in tongues. I have seen that. I've had people try to kill me multiple times because they were being influenced by a demon or a demonic entity. And when those situations happen, you just have to forcefully convince that person it's not in their best interest to harm you. I'm 6'5", 300 pounds. I hold a master rank in Kung Fu. I ran a self-defense school. I can handle myself. You know what I mean? So when those situations happen, I am well equipped to handle them. Not saying that I won't end up dying someday because of it, because I might. But I have a better chance than a lot of people, if that makes sense, because I'm a mountain of a man. And I'm surrounded by people that are extremely knowledgeable and extremely good at what they do. As I mentioned, our exorcist is ordained by the church. I mean, that's what he does. His job is to fight demons. You know what I mean? So I'm in really, really good hands. Now, part of that came because of my name, the privilege of being who I am. That kind of opened those doors for me a little bit. But I've been kind of doing this most of my life anyway, with different groups and stuff like that. My first group was a group of Native Americans in Illinois, when I lived there, actually, that I met at a powwow. And they started introducing me to this stuff, and I had been studying it like my whole life. I mean, I told you that earlier, but I always believed that it was myth. It was always make-believe on a page somewhere. It was not real. I was like, this is fun and it's interesting. Man, is it really interesting? But it's not real. Nobody thinks this is real. Don't be stupid, right? That's what I thought. And then I got introduced to these guys, and they kind of did that thing that you see in movies sometimes. We're like, well, what if I told you it was real? What if I could show you? And I'm like, oh, that would be great, but you're not going to convince me, dude. I'm a scientist, bro. I'm a scientist. You're not going to convince me that ghosts and goblins exist. You're crazy. That's what I thought. And I'm going to tell you, they're not crazy. There are things that go bump in the night. There are evil things out there that want to hurt you. And there are people that fight those things. And we just happen to be some of those people. You know what I mean? It exists. It's real.
Wow. So, old boy, now, with him being Christian and you're pagan, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
All right. What's your take on it? I mean, what does that do to you? All this stuff that, especially what he's seen and stuff, and has it affected you in your life? Have you started seeing things or?
I've had things around me all my life. I have something in me now. I deal with it. We'll put it this way, we're on two different sides. I know what he deals with. I deal with stuff all the time. My fiance is what they would call, like, you remember Insidious? She can see herself sleeping. She deals with stuff every night. She has stuff scratch her. Just the other day, we just did a show, and I was listening to it, and there was something whispering while I was talking to James, and we have it recorded. It happens all the time. He's used to it now because I kind of walk with demons. We'll just put it that way. I deal with them on a daily basis. I've always have. I know they exist, and anybody that doesn't believe it, that's fine. I know people are going to say they don't, but that's fine. I'll take you out and we'll prove you wrong. Because I'm not, it's impossible to, people think you fix things or you record things. It's impossible to do it. And especially when you have, like, you're taking a phone picture on an Apple, you're not trying to photo. But a lot of people do photocopy, so it makes it look like you're lying, but it's not. It's true. I've had to go down in a cellar where somebody was murdered and supposedly sacrificed in Lucerne Valley. I live in California. And I sat down there for 15 minutes blindfolded by myself because no one was supposedly could do it, and I did it. But if you look in the back, there's something moving, like a dark shadow the whole time. And we have it on video when we went out there. So it was really crazy, and I felt something watching me. And I feel that all the time. Even when I go to sleep at night, something watches me. Sometimes I'll get attacked. And like I said, I've been sick. I just I had my appendix taken out in February, almost died. And September, I was diabetic. I've lost 60-something pounds. I'm 6 foot. I was 280. Now I'm 223 pounds now. But I've lost a lot of weight in the last 7-8 months because I had to change my whole life. And I got rid of diabetes. So that, and I think some of it has to do with this because the last couple of years, all of us have all had bad things happen of all our groups and everything. So it just, when you mess around with this stuff, stuff does come after you. You just got to deal with it.
Wow. So just out of curiosity now, with everything that you do and everything else and stuff, what does your family, like your parents and everything, think about, your beliefs? I mean, are they the same pagan or are they Christian?
My mom's a reverend.
What's that?
My mom is a Christian reverend.
Ah.
Yeah, we are totally opposite people. That sounds crazy, I know, but yeah, my mom's a reverend. My grandmother's a Sunday school teacher before she passed away. Yes, I just went my separate ways. I've always been like that. I've always been different. I've always been like this. I've always thought this way. I never went that way. I mean, I know I've read the Bible and stuff like that. I was raised like that, and I chose to be this way. I've always been drawn to another side. And this is how I've always lived my life. And we've had this discussion with James numerous times. Yeah, my mom had numerous discussions with her. It just happens. So, yes, we were totally different. My wife is a pagan Wiccan witch. My girlfriend is a pagan witch. Yeah, I didn't get to that either. I live a different lifestyle than most people. So,
wow.
Yeah, so, that's why I said I live an interesting life.
So you have a wife and you have a girlfriend.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, now they know this. They know.
Yes.
Okay, not judging, just curious. You brought it up.
that we are all three together. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I live, like I said, I live a different life than most people do.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say after that one. The
It's
others
not for everyone. It's not for everyone.
Got it. Okay. James, are you the same way or no?
No, I'm married for, I'm going to get this right, 16 years tomorrow. Tomorrow is my 16th wedding anniversary. I've married a girl that I have loved for most of my life. It's funny because we kind of came up together. You know, when I first moved here, I met her and we were always the best of friends. And she would come over to my house after school and like get French fries and stuff and hang out, and we'd play Mario Brothers together and watch TV. And as she got, you know, a little bit older, she would go out and do the party thing. I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't do any of that stuff. I'm a boring guy. So she would go out and do that kind of stuff, and then she'd always show back up at my house around dinner time, and I'd make dinner, and then I'd take her home, put her on my shoulders, carry her upstairs, and put her in her bed so her mama wouldn't know she was out drinking. You know what I mean? Because her mom worked second shift. And so she was just my best friend in the world for a lot of my life. And we never really were single at the same time, you know? There was always something there, but it was never anything we talked about because we always had somebody. And then it just kind of ended up that we were single at the same time. And I asked her if she wanted to go on a date with me, you know? And it's funny because she actually stood me up 3 times before she actually went out with me. And I would be sitting in a parking lot in my pickup truck like a dummy for hours, and she would never show up. She was supposed to meet me, and she just totally stood me up, dude, like 3 times. And like an idiot, I keep coming back for more because I love this woman, you know, and I want her to be my woman. So I keep coming, and I keep sitting in the parking lot like a dummy, and she keeps standing me up. And then finally one day she didn't stand me up, you know, and we've been together for 16 years tomorrow.
That's great. That's awesome. What'd you get her?
I am going to take her out shopping. I'm not. See, I learned. Let me give this piece of advice for all the men out there. Just give them your card and let them buy whatever they want. It's not as romantic, and that's the thing that you're going to be like, it's not romantic, dude. But here's the thing: you can't screw that up. If you just say, "Here, buy whatever you want," and then let them buy whatever they want, you can't go wrong with that. Most likely, I'm going to buy her this giant TV that she wants for the bedroom and probably a bunch of different expensive makeup stuff and who knows. Whatever she wants. If she wants to go to Hawaii tomorrow, we're going to Hawaii tomorrow. It really doesn't matter to me. It's whatever she wants, she can have.
Wow. James, or old boy, how about you?
What am I going to do for his?
No. For yours, when yours comes to,
Old boy's probably thinking he wishes he was my wife.
Yeah, you might as well marry him, man. I get a free TV out of it and some money. So,
well, Hershey, can you actually pick him up and put him on your shoulder and bring him to bed when he gets drunk?
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. Not in the old days, but he's a lot smaller now than he used to be.
You just cradle him ever so softly. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to go to break right Sorry, I don't know why I pictured that. Sorry, guys, but I did. Okay, so we're going to be right back in just a couple of minutes here. We're going to go to break, and hold tight, guys.
Demons, vampires, werewolves, skinwalkers. All of this and more. Sunday nights at midnight on the Staring Into the Abyss radio show. Come, get lost with us.
In order for the light to shine so brightly, the darkness must be present. Tune in every Monday at 10 o'clock The Dark Sun Rising on the Para-X Radio Network.
I am horror author James Hershey Jr. from the Staring Into the Abyss radio show. Check out the book that started it all. What critics called the scariest book of the year. I am Legion. And if you're still breathing, check out the other 2 books in the series. The Surrogate of Souls and The Rise of the Revenant. These books will scare the hell out of you. That I promise.
And we're back. This is Jerry with The Calling. And again, Kimberly could not make it tonight. She's actually selling fireworks, but I do believe she is in the chat room. So if you want to order fireworks and have them sent, she'll take the money, but she's not going to send them. So there you go. You can still kind of have them. Also, too, if you guys have heard the first part of the show, you guys haven't, weren't here for the first part, you want to hear the whole thing, you can actually go to thecallingradioshow.com as of tomorrow around 4 or 5, and this show will then be put on the website. It'll also be put on our YouTube channel, which is The Calling Radio Show. And do us a favor, do a little subscribing on there and hit the old notification button, so because we're going to be putting a ton of stuff on there, and that'd be kind of great to get a little followers going. And we've got some pretty good shows on there that we actually got about like 29 shows on, but it'd be kind of fun. Also, too, check out on Para-X, check out The Gathering, which is every Tuesday night, from 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with Stephanie and Heidi sitting at the metaphysical table, drinking tequila, having all sorts of fun. And then also, right after our show tonight, Geeks Paranormal is on. Stick around for the girls. They are a blast. And then on Sunday night, if I'm correct, right, guys? At midnight?
Yep.
There is Staring Into the Abyss with James Hershey Jr. and James, Ash, and listen to some of their stories. It's kind of fun, is that listening, because you guys have a Facebook, you guys got a Facebook channel, like them on Facebook, but their YouTube channel, that's where I started listening to your shows. Now, the one that I can't remember the whole thing is... Demons and something.
So what are demons and where do they come from?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That was very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. One of the things that made me want to do paranormal, as far as what show we were going to do, because we've done other shows in the past where we talked about current events and where we talked about, all this stuff. But for me, I've always been looking for those answers. So when I do a show, I don't want to jibber jabber for an hour. I want to try to actually solve something. I want to answer these questions, And I have dealt with demons for a long time, as far as helping people that are possessed and have attachments and have all that kind of stuff. So I thought, I got a pretty good knowledge of demons. But then somebody asked me one day, they said, what are demons? And where do they come from? And, right away in your head, you think, well, that's an easy question. What are demons? Everybody knows what a demon is, right? But actually try to answer it. What are they? So then I thought, let me get that answer. Because one thing about me, once I get a question in my head, I can't let it go. I'm like a dog with a bone. I got to find the answer. So I literally did about 6 months of research. I talked to pastors. I talked to priests. I did extensive Bible study. I studied the book of Hanach, which is Hebrew. In English, the translation is the book of Enoch. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that. I talked with pagans. I talked with Satanists. I talked with everybody who I thought might know the answer to those questions. And what I found out was nobody knew the answer to that question. Nobody I spoke to could tell me what the hell a demon was and where it came from. So I said, okay, where do we know demons from? We know demons from the Bible. So I'm going to go to the Bible and I'm going to find this answer. Now, it took months of study to find the answer. It all begins in Genesis 6, where the angels come down to mate with human women. The offspring, the Nephilim, are the giants. Okay? Now, when the giants die, that's where the creation of demons happens. So let me explain this really quickly. God is a Trinity. Okay? You have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Man is created in God's image. We are also a Trinity. You have the body, which is what dies and gets buried. You have the soul, which is what goes to heaven or goes to hell. And then you have what they call the spirit, which is your mind, your consciousness. That is what I believe ghosts actually are. I believe ghosts are that part of the human trinity that is left behind here on earth in spiritual form. But that's not what I'm talking about right now. That's kind of another thing that we can talk about later if you want. Sure. But giants are the offspring of human women and angels. Okay? Now, when the angels came down, an angel is a spiritual being. So an angel cannot copulate with a human woman because it is a spiritual being. That act cannot happen because they are not equipped to carry that act out. So they've got to take on human form in order to make this happen. How the hell do they do that? That's another couple months of research to figure out the answer to that one. Turns out, everybody will be familiar with the part in the Bible where they talk about blood. The blood is the life. That it's forbidden for you to drink blood and all that kind of stuff because blood is life. On deeper study, that is how the angels actually took on human form to mate with human women to create the giants, is through consuming human blood. Because the blood is the life. It has the essence of the life. It gave them the ability to take on a human form. There is your origin story for vampires. That's where vampires came from. So then we got giants now. In the Bible, in the beginning, the original giants were like 500 feet tall. Okay? They didn't come out that tall, obviously, because that would have been one hell of a mess. But they grew to that size. So they die. They keep mating with women, and over the generations, they get smaller. By the time of David and Goliath, you're talking 10 feet, somewhere in that range, right? That one king was 12 feet tall in that same time period. So that's about where giants ended up. I mean, when we look at the stories from Afghanistan and from the riots and everything that happened, where there were sightings of giants and law enforcement saying this and videotape, you're having all of that is around 12, 13 feet. So that's kind of where they plateaued. But when the giant dies, let's get back to the main point. When the giant dies, what happens? That's the question. Well, when a human dies, you have the soul, which goes to heaven or hell. The body goes into the ground. The spirit hangs out. A giant is an abomination because God says you are an abomination unto the Lord. So only God can grant a soul. So giants, being the son of angels, are a spiritual being. They have a spirit. They get that from the angels. They also have a body. They get that from their human side. But they have no soul. So when they die, there's nothing to go to heaven or hell. It just stays here. Just the spirit stays here, looking for another host, looking for a body that it can have again. So what demons are the disembodied spirits of giants that have died. Now, the giants did not just mate with human women. They also mated with all variety of animal. That's from the Bible. That is your origin story for a lot of the creatures of mythology, such as minotaurs and the like. Even the old gods of Olympus have their tracing back to this time. Those were the angels that came down because God talks about not worshiping them and talks about they take blood sacrifices. The reason they have to take the blood sacrifices is so they can maintain their human form. It's a brilliant brilliant show. Now, I have given you the extreme abridged edition right now. There's way more detail that I go into on the actual episode. It's an hour long. If y'all want to check it out, it's on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. The title of the show is What Are Demons and Where Do They Come From? But that's a quick version of it.
Wow. That's wow. Well, let's see now. So you're talking about the giants and everything. Now, oh boy. Now, in the pagan style of like the Norski, wasn't the giants and the gods that had the fight? Were the gods actually part, or the giants part of the demonic type force?
Pretty much. I mean, if you want to look at it that way. I mean, I have my opinions on. I'm a little bit darker than just a Wiccan witch, so I kind of agree with him a little bit on what he's saying, because they're pretty much are. That's what a demon is. I mean, when you talk about like an angel or a demon, is pretty much a fallen angel. It's not even really a demon. And in what I believe, I have an opinion what a demon is anyway. We pretty much agree on the same thing. I think a demon was what he was saying as a Nephilim, but I also, like, people get this confused, like the actual ones that, you talk about the falling of heaven, they actually were not demons. They were actually fallen angels, but they are become evil, and what do you call entities or deities, whatever you want to say now. So pretty much we did that show like 2 years ago, and it was like a really good show. And we pretty much went through all this stuff with because people wanted to know what are demons, and that's what we've come up with. And I'm going to tell you something with him. He studies stuff for months, and he used to be a Mecha kid, so he's very smart. And he even, like, I'm not stupid, but he blows me away, man. This guy studies 4 or 5 months, stuff I didn't even know. So he kind of, what he says is pretty much true, but I have my opinions on some of it. I think demons also, I think you could sell yourself, like with selling your soul. I think people can, I know people are going to think this is crazy. I think some people can become a demon. And I know after they die, and they've done certain things to become that. I also have that opinion. With the whole vampire thing, it could be true. I don't know if I'm still debate off vampires are real. I think that it has been exaggerated over time of what they are. But I think what they do is they drink the blood of the innocent. And I think that's where the whole vampire comes. But I think it's more of a demon thing. But it could be. There's different creatures that's out there that I believe in, that he believes in, are pretty much similar. So it could be.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so let's go back here a little bit. We have some questions in the chat room. Let's start with Hershey on this. Didn't the fallen angels mate with humans? Wasn't the blood formed to take out the, I might be saying it wrong, Nephilims?
The angels saw human women, and they dug them. They thought, hey, how you doing, right? So they wanted to go down and make them their wife. But the problem is, being a spiritual being, they don't have the proper equipment to get that job done. They don't have a human body. They don't have a body capable of, let's say, mating. That's a nice, easy word that we can use on the radio. They don't have the proper equipment to mate with a human woman. So they have to assume that form. Now, the way they do that is through the blood of human beings. It's kind of a convoluted thing to think about, but in the Bible they talk about the blood being the life, and you're not permitted to consume the blood of different creatures. That's what the Jewish traditions of kosher. I couldn't remember the name of kosher is. They have to be slaughtered in a certain way. The blood has to be drained a certain way. It has to follow certain steps in order to make it clean to eat. You're not supposed to you're not supposed to consume the blood, especially of human beings. The reason for that is because the blood contains the essence of life. That is what gives them the ability. Now, I don't exactly understand how it works, but I'm telling you that's what the Bible is telling us, that is the way that they were able to do that. Now, in order to continue to have that form, they have to continue to consume human blood ever so often. There is no answer to how often. I mean, I'm sure there is, but it's not in the Bible. But if you go through the Bible and you go through the book of Enoch, the book of Enoch goes into a lot more detail on giants and stuff like that. And it's funny because it wasn't included in the Bible that we have today. I think because it kind of gets into more detail. It's almost fantasy-like, and people thought it might be a little bit too unbelievable. So maybe we ought to keep it out. I think that's why. They had a whole thing where they had multiple experts and religious scholars come in and look through all these books and decide what was canonical and what was not canonical. I get that. But I don't see how a book by Enoch cannot be part of the Bible when the Bible talks about Enoch. They talk about Enoch being a great man and that he was brought up to the Lord, right? If God will bring Enoch up and hang out with the dude, why do we not trust what he says? That's what I've always wondered. The Jews believe that the book of Enoch is relevant. They believe that it should be part. Just for some reason, a king of England said, hey, dude, throw that one out. And I don't exactly know why that is. But that is the answer to that question, if that is what the question was.
Wow. Sure. Now, Travis Allstott has asked, how did women get smaller? Which is a question I've always haunted for my existence so far. How does that happen within the Bible? Because you have the giants and then with the women, so curiosity.
Well, I mean, the women weren't gigantic, if that makes sense. They were like normal people. And we've actually, as a species, over thousands of years, we've gotten bigger than we were before. If you look at our grandparents' generation, the average height back then was 5-something, and right. Now it's closer to 6 feet tall. As far as smaller as in stature, like more feminine looking, more demure, that would probably be because of all the estrogen and hormones that are pumped into our food and water all the time. I mean, everything we eat and drink is full of chemicals and hormones and antibiotics and all kinds of horrible things that you probably shouldn't be putting in your body. There's a lot of estrogen that's added into our water supply and added into our food supply in the form of additives that is actually causing the demasculization of men in our society. I'm not. This isn't some conspiracy theory. I'm not saying that's why dudes are walking around with man buns or whatever. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, if you look at the way men used to be, okay, men used to be badasses. Men, like my grandfather, was smaller than me, but he was the toughest man I've ever seen in my life. I went out working on a road with my grandfather. Went up to the cabin. We were doing gravel and all that kind of stuff. So I'm swinging this big old shovel, this pointy shovel, and I'm unloading gravel. Now, you should use a flat shovel when you do that, but we were broke, man. We only had one shovel, and it used for everything. So I'm using the shovel because Grandpa's older, and he's not going to shovel. That's my job. So I'm flinging the gravel off the back of the pickup truck, and I happened to strike him with that shovel. Sliced a deep, deep gash through this man's hand. So bad you could see bone and meat poking through. It was nasty. I almost threw up looking at it. He glanced down at it, looked back at me, and said, boy, what in the hell are you just standing there for? You better get to shoveling. And kept working like it was nothing. Okay, men used to be a lot tougher and a lot more manly than they are today. Some of that is because of just societal norms. Technology dictates that we don't have to work as hard as we used to have to work. We don't have to be as rugged and tough as we used to have to be because technology makes life easier. It makes you safer. Anywhere where civilization reigns and industrialization has happened, we're just not as tough as we used to be because we're not going out and fighting a lion or something on the way to the store. You know what I mean? Part of it is that. But also part of it is all of the estrogen hormones that are put into our food in the form of, a lot of it is honestly put there to try to keep the animals healthy, because they're in situations that are insane, that they were never supposed to be in. I mean, you have these factory farm places where you have thousands and thousands of animals stacked on top of each other, in very little space, and it's just not a healthy environment. If you put human beings in environments like that, you get what happened in concentration camps. You get what happened in any kind of jail setting where everybody's stacked on top of each other, where you have disease rampant and that kind of thing. That's just what's always going to happen. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not one of these wacko environmentalists that are telling you don't eat meat and all that. I don't care. Dude, I'm a hunter. I fish. I don't care. But I'm just saying the reason they have to pump all of those antibiotics and all of those hormones into the animals is to make them suitable for human consumption, because otherwise we'd be eating diseased, nasty stuff that just would not be good for anybody.
Wow. Well, old boy, thoughts?
I told you guys, he knows his stuff, man. I agree. I mean, think about it. My grandfather was the same way. The guy was 80-something years old, and he was outside working harder than most people my age. And he would go out there, and he'd also smoked 3 or 4 packs a day. He also drank. He ended up dying because of it, but he was 85 years old. But he would go out there and work his ass off and cut himself, like he said, split his hands open. And I'd sit there and I'd be shoveling 2 things, and I'd be like ready to die. And he's like, get your ass out there and work. And it didn't bother him. It was just it. I think it is. It's already proven. We're getting so lazy because we don't have to go out there and work our ass off like our ancestors did, 60, 70 years ago. We go and push a computer, so you're going to get lazier. And people are not eating the same foods. Like you said, we're getting now with hormones, all this vitamin crap. And if you look at women, they're getting more voluptuous, like beautiful. Like, I don't really see a lot of ugly women anymore. It's what they're pumping in milk and everything. And I see a lot of men are getting a lot thinner, a lot smaller, not saying not every man, but a lot are getting weaker. And it seems like the women are getting more stronger than men are. It's just coming out that way. And it's just whatever they're putting in milk and food. And most people have 3 or 4 kids now, or they don't have they're a broken family. So they're either watching, playing video games, or sitting at home watching TV while their parents are out either working or getting their 3rd baby's mama or daddy or whatever. And so that's what happens. And, I'd rather sit on my phone and go outside and play. That's another thing. The phone and social media is, you know how that goes. We don't even have to get into that. That's ruling the world right now, social media. People, you say the wrong thing on social media, you're done. Your life is over.
Yeah.
So
that's definitely for true. Definitely. Okay, we're going to switch off this we only got 7 minutes left. It's gone by quick, and this is great, guys. So now we're going to take a big, big turn here. What's your guys' thoughts on UFOs and Bigfoot?
As far as a connection between the two, is that what you're saying, or just individuals?
Connection, or do you believe?
UFOs absolutely exist. No doubt about it. I can tell you for a fact UFOs exist. Okay? I've worked on projects in the past. I know they exist. I can't tell you how I know. I can't tell you why I know, because I probably won't be here tomorrow if I do. But I can tell you they're real. Okay? Aliens exist. Bigfoot also exists. I've actually had a Bigfoot sighting myself. I told the story on the show. I won't get into it now because we only have 7 minutes, but Bigfoot absolutely exists as well. I believe most likely Bigfoot is an evolved version of an ancient human ancestor called Gigantopithecus. If you look at the sightings, it's the exact same. If you look at the dermal ridge patterns on the foot, when you have those plaster casts, the interesting thing about those plaster casts is the dermal ridges on the footprints match up with early primate species, and that would coincide with Gigantopithecus. Pretty cool stuff, man.
Yeah.
Also, Homo floresiensis is on the opposite side of that spectrum. That is the actual hobbit. There were actual hobbits running around at one time in history. The name is Homo floresiensis if you guys want to look it up. That's a pretty awesome story, too.
Exactly. Yep. No, that is a very interesting story about that. I did see it. I thought it was a joke, and it's like, wow, they claim that they did exist. Oh boy. Same question.
Aliens do exist. I've had my own encounters. I've listened to what James says. Like he said, he can't say certain things, and there's reasons for that, but they do exist. I don't think Bigfoot and the UFO have anything in common. I think it's just another animal, a hybrid. It runs around, and it's been around here for a long time. And I've never had any, like, I live in the desert, so we're not going to see Bigfoot running around. I do live by the Sierras, though, probably 8 hours away, where the Patterson video was, originally taken in '67. I've heard, but I've never had any sightings myself. But I do believe Bigfoot does exist, and it wasn't somebody in a damn suit. It exists.
Well, I did see Bigfoot 2015, I think it was. My wife's team, Squatchers. I actually witnessed it. I thought it was a moose trying to get up off the ground. And then once it stood up, I thought bear, but it didn't have, a bulbous butt and short legs, long body. And then it actually turned, and when it was looking towards the sun, it actually cupped its hand over its eyes to block the sun. So there's intelligence there. And I thought was extremely incredible. But here's my next question, because you brought it up, old boy, Patterson film. Up, yes or no? Hoax.
I don't believe it is a hoax. I believe it exists because you know what? The guy tried to lie about it, but then his family said after he died, he made that up. I believe at that time in '67, it was almost impossible. And maybe if it was done now, like in the 90s or 80s, yes. But the way that suit was, unless you're, and they have experts saying the way that thing walked, it's impossible at that time.
But a lot of people thought the creature in the Black Lagoon was real. There was reports about that, and that was even earlier than that. And that was, everybody believed that it was, and then it was found to be fake. I mean, myself, I shouldn't put my opinion in, but I got to. I'm that type of guy. If you take a look at that Patterson film and you really look at the butt and the leg, and then look at it really hard on the original film and on the 4K colorized, and then you tell me, is that real or is it
exactly?
Oh, James.
Full articulation of the gluteus maximus muscles and the femoral majoris muscles. Dude, that is a living creature. You can't do that today without CGI. With special effects now, unless you have CGI, you can't do that. Look at the shoulder blades. Look at the gluteus maximus, the butt muscle like you were talking about. Look at the thigh muscles. Look at the bottom of the foot. When the Bigfoot steps and raises his foot, look at the bottom of the foot. There are dermal ridges there. Dermal ridges are exactly the same as fingerprints. Okay? We have them on our fingers. They are also on primate toes. That's how you identify different species of primates, is by their dermal ridges. They exist on that film. You can see them. Okay? You cannot have articulation of individual muscle groups if it's not a real creature. It's just not ever going to be.
I have to disagree with that. I'm sorry, guys. We can't get along all the time on stuff. Agree on stuff. But I really think that it's definitely false. Just like a certain man that says he goes out in the woods, puts his arms up, and Bigfoot comes to him and leaves greasy little black rocks in different shapes for him. That, to me, it's probably covered in Kentucky Fried Chicken grease. I don't know. It's very interesting, though. It is interesting. I mean, the thing with YouTube and all that stuff, I have friends that are constantly saying, watch this YouTube. This is real. Take a look at it. And it's like, it is false. It's fake. How can you believe it? So it's hard to say. I've seen Bigfoot. Did Bigfoot look like this giant, type of creature like in Finding Bigfoot? No. And sorry, guys, it's time to go. Shoot. Wish we had more time. Gentlemen, hold on the line there. Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you, Para X. We appreciate it. Sarge, thank you. And for all the listeners and everything else and the troops, God bless you all, and take care.